What's up, everyone? It's your girl, Karina. This is Eye of Karina TV, and we are live on IG and live on YouTube. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, if you probably have already noticed, if you're just now watching it after the replay, then you will know that I will have timestamps down below, okay? And so you can jump to the topics or the things that basically you're most interested in. Okay, so I'm just gonna set down IG over here. Today's our first time going live with IG, so I'm excited. And if you guys haven't checked it out, I have two profiles now on IG. Okay, I want you guys to watch me put this astrology in action, because my Mars is in the 8th house, where I like to dive deep into the taboo, but it's also in Taurus, where I want to make that be a monetary thing. So I'm putting my astrology to the test when it comes to branding. I'm putting my astrology to the test when it comes to psychological healing. There's a lot of things that I'm doing, and I'll be sharing more things like that with you guys. So I think that will be really fun, because it's more true and honest to myself. And it's like hitting two birds with one stone. Okay. All right. So today I want to talk to you guys about the Scorpio full moon, and basically all of the things that are really kind of post Scorpio full moon coming up for me, and just relaying the astrological message of the Scorpio energy. Okay. The first thing that I really want to talk about is in November, we are going to have an eclipse that crosses this energy again, reminding us of some of the things that we're going through right now. So with that in mind, it's not about saying, oh, let's fear November when the eclipse comes. My message to you is more like, how powerfully transformative, right? How powerful has your transformation been? And you can measure it by November when that eclipse season comes. And the things that come up for you in November could be the things that you are like, yo, I got this. I finally figured it out. I finally figured out what it is that I need to do about my triggers, about my sense of suspicion, about my lack of feeling adequate, lack of feeling valuable. Excuse me. And this is because Scorpio and Taurus are the two zodiac signs that are battling it out, and were during this full moon. Scorpio having the full moon, as we know, but people who don't really understand astrology may not know that there's mad planets in Taurus right now. Okay. So let's take a look, actually, some of those planets, because I want to talk about that. And then I'm going to go into my fetish. I'm going to talk to you guys about this fetish that I have been dealing with. And we all have fetishes. I have a few. But this one I really want to hit on, and it's a perfect topic for all that I'm about to spill out for you guys. But let's first drop into Taurus. And when we look at Taurus, we've got Mercury, Venus, Uranus, and the Sun in Taurus. And what's also not being said here is that Lilith is in Taurus. Okay, if anybody's not familiar with Lilith, this is a divine, dark, chaotic goddess energy. All right, and she should not be slept on. It is a hidden subconscious energy, a feeling of not belonging, a feeling of not being enough, and the compensation for that. Compensation, a very important word when we're talking about Taurus and Scorpio, because this is the axis of money. Okay, a lot of monetary conversations are to be had during this week and the next week. Okay, because this is the conversation about what is my money and what is our money. Okay, and especially when we look at government, Scorpio rules over government, shared money, helping, and assistance. Especially when we look at the houses in the 8th house. Scorpio is where we get that stimulus check. That 8th house is where you get that stimulus check. Okay, so when we're looking at these topics and we're looking at the world today, we've got to definitely see how this is something that we got to keep in mind, okay? Now, how is the money axis working in your life right now? You might be coming into a major situation where you might have to deal with some sort of payment or bill payment, or you might be coming into a situation where you're discovering that you have like all of these monetary options that you never thought possible. This is coming from Taurus, because Taurus is bringing the tension. And the greatest thing about Taurus is that Taurus doesn't really want to bring tension. It only really brings it if the Scorpio energy has been trustworthy. Okay, because Scorpio is the energy that rules over secrets. So now we have a money energy, a self-value, a valuing energy of self and others. And now we bring in Scorpio, which is suspicion and trust. Okay, I think it's really important to think about the word trust. So when I look up the word trust, a firm belief in character, a person or thing in which confidence is placed. Okay, a property interest held by one person or organization for the benefit of another. Okay, so when we look at trust, it's all about this joining of two forces that believe in each other, that have confidence in each other. Okay, and when we look at it from a financial point of view, trust is a property interest held by one person for the benefit of another. Okay, so I trust you to hold this for me so that it benefits me. How powerful is that to understand the integration of relationships when we look at astrology and when we look at Taurus and Scorpio after the Scorpio full moon? It's all about trust, all the dimensions and levels of what it means to trust yourself, to trust another person, to trust that things are going as they should be going. This is something that we are really looking at. And so this may come on a more sexual, intimate level in your lives, or it may come more on a monetary level in your lives. And this is something that I want to expose about myself, because for me, it definitely has been on a more sexual level. As personally, I have Saturn in Scorpio. I'm part of that generation. And so what we deal with are these intimacy topics. It manifests differently in other people. For me, it has been a struggle with feeling sexually alluring, sexy, sex trauma, sexual abuse, molestation to a degree, and just discomfort and conflicts with sexual energy. Now, I have had many years at work at this because Saturn return has allowed me to do this, and I feel a lot more confident in trusting myself to be able to come to you guys and talk to you guys about one of my fetishes. So I wanted to share with you my journey because it is a journey. It took me a long time to even develop, the confidence to be able to talk about my sex life, the confidence to be able to display it on this kind of way on the platform. But of course, the astrology helps to protect me. The astrology helps to make it valuable for me and for you. So I'm really grateful for that. So let's talk about one of my fetishes. Okay. Yes, this is something that my husband clearly knows. Did he co-sign me talking about this? No, I don't think he did. But that's okay. Okay. Because he has trusted me and I have trusted myself. Okay. So one of my fetishes, if you guys have heard of the cuckold fetish, okay, where, the husband is watching the wife have sex with another person, right? Another man, right? Well, believe it or not, there is a cuck queen fetish. Okay. It's the same idea. Now, I have been trying to understand this aspect of me, and I do that. Okay. Some people they don't think that deeply about their sexual desires or fantasies or, perversions, which I will say that for me, this may be one, depending on how you look at it. There's nothing wrong with it, but there are certain hints and signals for me that showcase it in my everyday life, which is starting to inhibit how I feel about this fetish. And this is why I wanted to talk to you guys, because one of my biggest things is body image, self-image. And so this cuck queen fetish is kind of it could be fun if I felt good about myself and my body. But in itself, and when we really look at sex, the dark shadow to this fetish for me is the fact that I get to live vicariously through another woman's body in experiencing what it feels like to feel beautiful, to feel sexually attractive, and for my partner to be attracted to them. Okay. So this is something that I've been dealing with for a while, and it's not a struggle. It wasn't a struggle once I started to embrace it, but it started to become a struggle when I started to look at my jealousy and my feelings about myself in just everyday occurrence, right? Walking down the street, going to the grocery store. These are the times when that fetish, my cuck queen fetish, definitely check it out, is like showing its face, where I wanted to stay here. And this happens with sex. I think that we want it to stay in its place. For me, it doesn't. And maybe that's because of my Saturn energy. I don't know. Or maybe it's for everybody. I don't know. You guys tell me. But this is something that I wanted to share with you guys. Now let's look at it from a deeper spiritual aspect, okay? And what I know about myself and my journey, and you guys who have been with me on YouTube may know some of the things I understand about myself. But let's talk about it from etymology and from my name, Karina, which comes from my actual name, Karine. It's of course a pet name, a fun name, nickname, Karina. But my actual name is Karine. Okay. Now, when we look at the etymology of Karine, it actually comes from the word queen. Okay, and what I understand about Karine is the Arab and Arabian energy, Egyptian energy of that being connected to demonic dark energy. Did she just say demons? Did she just say her name means demons? Yes. That's, if you haven't been around with me for a while, understanding how I work with astrology, spirituality, and etymology, and just diving into the deep taboo realms of the core and the roots of everything. And so looking at my name, I've really been able to discover for myself how powerful it is that these topics come up for me, my shadows, my demons, and how I feel about them, which we'll get into, this idea of shame and toxic shame versus healthy shame, which I just released an audio that I did this morning about that, but I'll talk about it today. So yeah, Queen Karine is connected to this demonic energy, okay? And some people who have very strong faiths in Muslim faiths in Islam, you guys probably already know this. Okay, I come from a deeply religious family, not just Christian, both sides of my family were very deeply religious. I grew up in a very mind state of being repressed sexually for myself and being able to see myself as a sexual deviant, dark Korean, right? Or queen. I was really disconnected to that for a long time. So my name reminds me of that. It reminds me of this journey of dealing with my demons or my darkness, in which I don't treat demons in a way of seeing them as something bad. It's just shadows, parts of me, aspects of me that are either hidden or they're just in the dark and I know about them, or they're in the dark and other people know about them, but they're still shadows, right? It's like the shade that follows you. And so this has been my shade or my shadow that has followed me, is this body image issue, this feeling of not feeling adequately sexy. And when it comes to this fetish, really diving deep to the root of it, it kind of enables these feelings to continue to happen. Okay. So this is one of many fetishes. The other ones, well, I don't know, maybe we'll keep them around. But this one has been coming to a head for me because it definitely shows that I'm practicing this core belief. I'm practicing this core belief of being inadequate sexy, of being sexy, of feeling that way. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody who has this fetish feel this way, but for me, it definitely is showing that to be the case. Okay, it means that I'm unhappy sexually in my reality to a degree. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about this because I have been working on this. I've been looking at it and journeying with it and came across some psychological studies on this and started to look at myself in a way of saying, do I want to enable this if it's not serving my highest good as far as me feeling good about myself? Okay. So it kind of like is a bridge from feeling completely not sexy to getting more into feeling sexy by using this fetish, but it's still not quite hitting that point where it really works for me. And so the inadequacy, the shame, and the jealousy still show up in my life every single day, until I started to do this work. And now it's really starting to dissipate. It's starting to feel a little bit more like I have choices, I have options, and I don't have to feel locked by any of them, which gives me freedom, true freedom in that sense. But it's still working on it. Like I said, still working on it. So let's talk about shame versus toxic shame and how this fetish for me is really displaying that toxic shame. Okay. So shame versus toxic, healthy shame helps us to see where it is that our behaviors are not for our highest good or the highest good of others. And so we need a little bit of healthy shame. It's like a minor correction, a minor adjustment to seeing that, ooh, you know, doing that is not really making me into an effective human being that's contributing to the world, right? Or it's not tapping me into my humanity if I partake in certain behaviors. And that kind of a relationship to certain actions that you take and feeling shameful about that, that's very healthy shame. We learn these even in childhood. You know, I have a 3-year-old and I'm teaching her like how to understand, you know, what is the right thing to do and how to go about things in which she gets her needs, but she's not hurting others. And so shame kind of is an emotion that we use in order to do that. This is not just a personal take, it's actually a psychological, you know, study that I've been studying about healthy shame and how important it is for you to be connected to humanity, because it's connected to how you affect others and how important you feel when you are connected to humanity. So healthy shame is beautiful, but then there's this thing called toxic shame that actually allows for you to embody the shame into your body. So now you think that everything that you are is shameful. You think that everything that you are is inadequate. Maybe you don't think like, oh, maybe you don't think those thoughts consciously, but it's coming from a more subconscious place of this feeling of inadequacy, of feeling not enough. What does it mean to feel not enough? Oh, it's hard to really describe. I think maybe you guys can tell me if you've ever experienced what it feels like to feel not enough. But what does it look like to feel not enough? It looks like jealousy. And it looks like this fetish, this cuck queen fetish. It's one aspect of it. I'm not saying that everybody who has it has that same thing, but it's one aspect of it. What does it look like to feel not enough, to not accept the way that you are, even if it's flawed or not perfect? You know, like you can't accept the fact that there's an aspect of you that is not like everyone else or not the model type that everyone aspires for. You know, specifically, like if we talk about body image, my body image or my body stature right now, as it is right now in this present moment in the now, because that's all that we have, is just not enough to the model type, right? So my relationship with that is either that I'm in acceptance of it, and I don't even have to say I love myself. I just have to accept like that's just not what my body is, because it's accepting the now, or I have to change it and I have to change it now. Now, once we get into that, I have to change it now, that immediate instant gratification, validation. This is where we find dependency, addictions, and this lack, this void, this non-wholeness, this non-soulness, this dissipation of self. So needing to become something else immediately, right? Especially when it comes to making it fast, making it instant, is very important because we're looking at time. Okay. When we are healthy with ourselves, we can accept that we don't have things as we want it, but we can take time and patience to get to it. This is healthy because the anxiety is not going to be, I need to have it now. Okay. That I need to have it now comes from this place of void. It comes from this place of lack. So the very simple adding of the now, of needing it now, shows the toxic shame. It reveals the toxic shame because it shows that in this very state right now, I am not at peace, I am not happy, and I have to do something about it. Okay. The ability to sit with your emotions, sit with your even displeasure, unease, unhappiness in a way that is soulfully, unconditionally in love with self, even in this state. I know that was a big jarble. Let me say that again. The ability to sit with your unhappiness shows that you can love yourself in that unhappy state. And that's an aspect of self-love that is forgotten when we look at self-love. Self-love is pushed so much in this positive light of, I love myself, but what if you really don't? Or I love this, I love my body, but what if I really don't? So now the lie of a lie becomes the shadow. It becomes the authenticity, the truth becomes pushed down and it becomes a shadow that shows itself in other places, because when you really love yourself, the way that you act and be is of another world. It is of another space of holding self. So this is something that we have to talk about. I don't know if anyone even gets it, but I feel like maybe it's a lot of jargon. But what I want to share with you guys is my personal take on toxic shame. And I did a whole video in revealing and exposing myself for having toxic shame, because especially that I do astrology, it's really important for you guys to understand, to me, why I create the things that I create and what is my intentions behind why I'm creating the things that I create. Which brings me to this whole thing with Venus RX, Oracle cards, and some of the topics in these cards, because I created these cards in order to help people be able to work through their own toxic shame when it shows up in relationships, when it shows up in self journeys, when it shows up in your life. And so that's the intentions behind these cards. And that's why the message is sometimes very sharp and too, maybe even a little too harsh, but it's there to bring up the shadow. So it's no longer being avoided or neglected. It's no longer being blinded by positive light, that the shadow can come up for us to see what are our true motivations, because this helps us to weigh or measure our true self-value and our true self-love. You have to look deeper when you really want to expose how valuable you think you are. You have to look deeper. So when we look at Venus, which doesn't like to be a deep topic, when we talk about beauty standards, it's just something that people don't like to make deep, but it has to be done at certain points. And I feel like I'm a landmark for those moments. I feel like that the work that I do is because I know that it has to be done. And we all have a purpose that we live by. And that's my purpose. And that's my truth as an astrologer, and why I do the things that I do. I feel like I am a landmark for people to look deep into their conditioning of self-love and to attack and reverse and retrograde yourself back to love by looking at all of the conditioning and unlayering and just taking it all off till you get the true core of yourself, which in a lot of times when it comes to Venus is unhappiness. So these cards do bring you sometimes to that space because it's a responsible thing to do. They're not always going to be about unhappiness. Sometimes it is about really finding true love and really discovering how beautiful you really are. And that's important too. But the other aspect that I feel the most responsible is looking at this, because looking at your unhappiness is where we can find the true pivotal moment of transformation. It's where you find the true pivotal moment of real purpose, because your purpose is to make yourself happy. And if you can't see the root of your unhappiness, then you're always like, your head is above the water, but you're not really like swimming. You're not really living life. And that's my truth. That's my story as an astrologer. So I'm grateful for you guys to, if you haven't even spent 30 seconds listening to me, I'm grateful. I'm going to sign off now and from IG. So thank you, IG, because I'm going to be working on the Venus RX cards on YouTube. If you want to come and join me on YouTube, come now. Just click the link in my bio. Even if this is the replay, come click the link in the bio and watch me finish up these Venus RX cards. I'm going to show some of the cards. You guys can give me feedback, give me editing advice even right now. Okay, so bye IG. See y'all later. Okay, and let's get to work here on YouTube. We're going to finish up the cards today, and I'm really excited to do that. Hey. Okay. Oh, Kari, thank you so much for your comment about transparency. It's a power move too, just being honest, to be transparent. It's a power move, baby. Okay. All right. So these are the Venus RX cards, my friends. Looky, look. Okay. We have got these beautiful edits that I've made. Some of them still need some work, I'll be honest. And what's really cool is that, you know, the cards will never be the same. So it so works well with the Venus RX topic of going back and just redoing your creative work. So they're constantly being minor adjustments throughout the year whenever I'm working on them. But every year around my birthday is when I am going to, like, for real, drop a whole new set of cards. So my birthday just passed and I probably added about 20 new cards. Okay. So throughout the year, I might do like text adjustments, you know, changes, little tweak things. So everybody's card deck might be a little different depending on, you know, when you got it. But this deck for 2021, this edition has the new 20 cards. Okay. Now, if you've already purchased a deck from me, you can purchase just the 20 cards and just add it to your deck. So if you have the first edition, the one that I made last year, I'm going to have that on the site, which I'm working on still. But you could just get the 20 cards. But if you don't have a deck and you would like one, the new edition is ready to go. Okay. Well, ready, like as in we're looking at it right now. And after this live, I'm going to start shipping it out to all the orders that I have on my Etsy. So I'm really excited. Okay. So also give me feedback on what you think, you know, the message or the edits or what a card might have. I take feedback. I love feedback. I love validation. Okay. All right. So this one right here is Venus in the first house, the model. I love this card. It's the old one from the first edition. I did change up the text fonting a little bit between this edition, the second edition, and the first edition. So the texts are readjusted. This one, a strong presence. This is about a powerful impact of Venus being right on your first house. You look like a model, you feel like a model, your presence stands out. That's the power of Venus when it's right on your first house, right? So that's what I really wanted to show here. This is one of the new cards, Pretty Privilege. I've struggled with choosing the right picture because I wasn't sure what I wanted to be the right, like, pretty privileged model, but I just chose a picture that I thought was a beautiful woman. And I actually love that she has an afro. I feel like this is a paradox card, and I'm still working on it. Right now, the message of this card is accepted, but I want to change it a little bit in a paradoxical acceptance, or something with paradox, or a synonym of paradox for this one. Actually, let me just look it up right now. Let's look up paradox synonym, because I wanted to show that, you know, you're being accepted, but you're being accepted off of this mentality mindset that is kind of bizarre, you know. But you guys tell me what you think. But looking at paradox, contradiction, conflict, absurdity, absurd acceptance. I like that. Absurd acceptance. I'm going with that right now. If you guys have a better idea, I'll take it. But absurd acceptance. I love it. Acceptance. Okay, so sorry, I have a cold, so you guys are going to hear me sniff a lot. Venus RX in first house, absurd acceptance. Say that 10 times. Okay, pretty privilege. All right, moving on. I had to add myself in one of the cards, my darling. So we have me from my cover of Ariana Grande's Positions. I did a cover of that. And you guys will see on my Instagram, I have two sides to myself. This is a spiritual choice. I finally made the choice to have an astrology Instagram and a music Instagram, and they are very much so intentional. But you'll find my Positions video on my music Instagram. Anyway, Venus and Taurus, the makeup artist, this I wanted to be about beautifying things, right? But even more than that, putting things back together. So it's not always just this idea of making things pretty, but Taurus is also a working energy, even though it can have a shadow side of being a little lazy. It's actually a working hard energy. It's considered like the symbol is the bull. The bull is charging forward, or a bull or an ox are used for carrying things. So a makeup artist is somebody who is working really hard to make something, pull something together, make it look presentable, beautiful. And utilizing this energy is how you would do that. But this could also be a figure, a person, the makeup artist. So my whole site is going to have a breakdown of all the cards. I'm really excited to do that as a project and just make it accessible for everyone. And of course, there's freedom to interpret the cards. And I want to hear everybody's interpretation, because that helps me to make them better. All right. So this is a new one too. Venus, RX, and Taurus, the mind-body connection. Being connected to your intelligence and your discernment, and also being able to listen, quote unquote, to your body, right? Will showcase a beauty in your relationships. But Venus RX in Taurus shows a need to be back into the body, a lack of doing it. Because the message of the card is distaste in love affairs reflects where we are neglecting self-care, in the sense that if you're looking, I love the word distaste. And I had to put it in the Taurus card, so I used it here. And it's about, you know, when you see things that you don't really like about your partner, it's actually mirroring back to you where you're just not taking care of self. And it brings you to a place of more harmony with your partner because of your own mind-body connection being more balanced. And that's kind of some of the messages of this card. Here's another one added. These cards, I didn't realize I added so many. I had 44 before and I have 64 exactly now. So, and I still want to add more cards, but I told myself to stop and add more cards next year. So Venus in the second house, big spender, money flows. This one is as it is. Money is coming through. I feel like this one needs more coins. Let's add some coins, and let me see if I could just find the window so I'm not missing any comments from anybody. Okay, let me just push that down. Okay. All right, so let's see if we can find some coins, because that's what this needs right now. It needs some coins, dog. Something like that. I mean, like fallen coins would be cute too, but I don't really like the animation that they have. I'm using Canva, you guys. And if you ever thought about doing your own Oracle deck, Canva is amazing, and it's actually pretty affordable to sign up for their monthly, so that monthly subscription. Like, you can make a deck in a month and be a part of the subscription for 1 month and leave. Oh, look at this one. I like this one. But you get access to like this. They're more they're pro graphics. So actually I really, really like this one. I like this one because of the plant. I don't necessarily like the animation itself, but I like that it's a plant growing out of coins. And I'm just going to fade it a little bit so it's not so jarringly animated. And maybe just like one sparkling coin somewhere. Right? Something like that. Bring this whole thing down a little. Because I do want some cards that are distinctly like money cards. So yeah, Venus direct in the houses are really hinting to money. So that's what that is. It looked really good without these plants. It really did. Those plants are the graphics are annoying me. Maybe I could just put one little small one at the bottom here. And just fade it a little bit, but not something like that. I don't like that either. I really want this plant. You know what? I'm going to use it in another card. That's what I'll do, because it's not working in this one. I like this card feeling like, this card feels like a man sipping on whiskey with a very, very expensive dancer in front of him, like somebody he paid to specifically dance for him or whatever. Like basically like exclusive, high class, high quality pleasures. High class, high quality pleasures. So that's the Venus in the second house, big spender. All right, another card, comfortable. Venus RX, meaning looking at your comforts in the second house. Very basic card, but necessary. It doesn't look like, how do you guys feel about Oracle decks being cohesive? Because this one is not. I'm working on it being more cohesive, but then there's parts of me that are like, it doesn't need to be. But I'll add a little golden border, because that is one of the things that I do have in other cards that kind of tie them together. Maybe just this diamond. I want to use more of the hexagon, to be honest, because of that's not a hexagon. 2, 4, 6. That's not a hexagon. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That's the octagon. Hexagons are connected to Venus. So and diamonds are connected to Venus. So I like to use both. But this hexagon is not playing fair, so we're not going to use this one. But let's 1, 2, 3. Let's see if this one will do. Yeah, that's nice. No, it's not. Let's do the diamond. We'll do the diamonds and tame it down a little. Yeah, diamonds and hexagons are both connected to Venus ideologies, philosophies, and symbologies. because the diamond is connected to the character of Lucy, or like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which is connected to Venus, the morning star. And so the connection of Venus and diamonds is connected. There's a lot of connections here, right? To Lucifer, the bright light, right? So in a lot of ways, diamonds is created under pressure, even when you think about the Taurus and Scorpio axis, the pressure of Taurus versus Scorpio, like they're both tension holds things up, makes things, creates things. That's the Taurus and Scorpio axis in a lot of ways, because they could work very well together. This made me lose one of my images, but I kind of like the diamond just being as a diamond. We're going to keep it. All right, moving on. This is another added card, Venus in Gemini, the peacock. This is about pulling out your freakum dress. But it's also connected in a lot of ways to, men, and also showing your best caliber look. Like that's what this is. Your best look. Put on your best. Give me what you got. Put on your best. If there was a better way to say that so that this would be also good for men, like it would resonate with men, then let me know. Because pull out your freakum dress feels very one-sided, only to a certain amount of men. But so let me know if you guys have a better idea about that. I kind of like the side, how I don't see her whole body, kind of like that. But then this background would have to change. Kind of like the black. Yeah, I don't know why I like that so much, but I really, really like that. We're going to keep it. Let's keep it moving. Okay, Venus, RX, and Gemini, the Messenger, one of my favorite cards from the first edition. This is a new one. Venus in the third house, the girl next door. And under it is actually an old image of a woman speaking. But look at this message, interference, or trolling, or not minding your business. That's what this card is about. Okay, the next one, another new one, Venus RX in the third house, the narcissist. Still working on this one. I don't necessarily love this one as much as I did when I first made it, but we're working on it. Maybe I should add some more mirrors. Let's see if we added more mirrors, if that would make a difference. All right, I'm gonna have to be leaving in about 5 minutes, but I'm still here going through the deck with you guys. I'm really excited about this deck and what it's gonna bring for 2021 for the people who are using it. Because as I've mentioned in the whole beginning, this is deck. I poured my soul and my heart into the work doing this and making it energy wise and frequency wise about understanding other people, about it makes me emotional, about understanding other people, about having an open ear, about having empathy. This is powerful for me because the narcissist card is one of the role players in life right now that is not somebody that people have empathy for. And even the medical professional people that talk about narcissists and narcissism, they don't portray this need to really empathize with the creation of a narcissist, in my opinion. And I really wanted to bring this to the light and understanding where it's coming from, right? I'm still working on this card because this card is not doing enough for me when it comes to that. Okay. So okay, I'm just doing my lives right quick. Setting up my live on Instagram right quick so that everybody can see it. Then let me just go to YouTube so I can see everyone else. All right, cool. All right, so we are almost done here. Let's see if we could add some mirrors. I'm not really liking what Canva has here. We're going to leave this one. I'll be working more on this one throughout the year, editing it and making it better. And I'm thinking that on the site that I will also sell the cards individually eventually, so that if I do make an edit and you really like the edited version, that you could just buy that one and replace it in your deck. Think of these cards like your iPhones. You know what I'm saying? Like when the old version goes out, you get the new one. Because how I like to work as a Gemini moon is like, I'm done. Oh, let me go back and do it again. So I'm constantly like changing my ideas about things. All right, let's move on. This one, I love the idea, but still working on the concept here. It's not my favorite. Like it's pretty, but I wanted to portray entitlement to a strong degree. Still working on that. But this is the entitlement card. I think it's really important in Venus in understanding the issues with entitlement, when we should be entitled to things, when we're not. You know, who holds the ownership kind of idea, who has the right kind of idea. The matchmaker, I back and forth, but this one I thought Venus RX in the 5th house, the matchmaker, second chances, going back to an old love, right? It's those like elderly people, old love. But it could also mean like honoring your second choice, you know, not having to look at the first one or the ones before. It has a lot of meaning to it, and I'm excited to see what other people put with the meaning of this card. I redesigned the ideal lovers, symmetry and balance in the Venus and Libra card. Love it. Added a new one, Venus in the 7th house, marriage, ownership. Okay, not just commitment, but ownership. What do you own in this marriage? Okay, you know what? I am going to put commitment. I'm going to write commitment to ownership. You know what it feels like when you're owned by somebody? People feel like it means like that you're, you know, imprisoned. When you're owned, like, what if your parents own, when your parents own you, they take responsibility for you. When somebody owns you in a marriage, they're committed to you. They're committed to trying to make it work. You know, it's one thing to just be high off of the dopamines of that first few years together. But when you start really thinking about, I'm committed to this person, we're talking about longevity, and longevity has a sense of deep responsibility. And deep responsibility comes from deep purpose, right? And deep purpose can come from, this person is mine. Like when you're a parent, it's like nobody else can do what I do for my child. And when you're in a relationship, maybe that's the idea here too. This card is still working on me, but that's the idea of the message of this card right now. So it's the one that I'm running with. Zara J. Blige, what is Venus RX in the 7th house? Depending on how much you know about astrology, Venus is a planet that rules over love, beauty, commitments, and relationships. And the 7th house is a part of your birth chart. So when you look at your birthday and your birth time and place, we pull up a birth chart, which is a snapshot of the planets at the time that you were born and where they are in the sky and how they relate to each other mathematically, by the way. And these mathematical relationships either create tension or they create harmony. Okay. Now, when Venus is RX in the 7th house, it means that that it's in a place that rules over this idea of having tension. Okay. It has tension with your way that you impress other people and show up to other people. So you got to pull all of that together. When Venus is RX in the 7th house, you're thinking about your reputation and your relationship and how those things matter. Okay. So that's basically how I would interpret Venus RX in the 7th house, which right here showcases the quarrels card. It doesn't always have to be quarrels, but because Venus is RX in the 7th house, creating tension with the 1st, the 5th, the 1st, the 10th, and the 4th, quarrels are very much so going to happen. Doesn't mean that things are over, but it's a rehashing out things, re-understanding my relationship to this relationship, my relationship to the world, my relationship with this relationship to the world, to my family, to acquaintances, strangers, new people I'm going to meet, to my reputation, my career. Relationship affects all these things, and it either is going to give you problems with the squares and the oppositions in your chart, or it is going to refine you with the squares, oppositions in your chart. Okay, let's move on. This card, man, I want to change it so bad. It's called the Coquette. What I want to change is the hot and cold seduction. What I'm trying to say here is that if you guys know The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene, the Coquette is where I got that idea from. And what he says in the seduction part, actually, I have it right here. For goodness sakes, I have it right here. And then we're going to get to the next card, and then we're going to move on because the next card is still unfinished. And once the next card is finished, I'm going to drop the deck and I'm going to ship it out to everyone. So we're almost there, even though you guys aren't going to see all the cards today, but we're almost there with finishing the new edition. Let me find the Coquette in here. Okay, so that we can pull from Robert Greene's The Art of Seduction, something that has helped me along my journey, my Saturn and Scorpio journey. All right, so what we have here. The Coquette, page 67. The Coquette, the ability to delay satisfaction, is the ultimate art of seduction. While waiting, the victim is held in thrall. What will they do next? When will I have them next? These bastards, I hate them. They got me all the time. The coquettes. Coquettes are the grand masters of the game, orchestrating a back and forth movement between hope and frustration. This is a strategic card. This card is about strategy. It's about sexual strategy, tension, creating tension and not doubt, but creating mystery through strategy, right? Sexual tension, period, creating mystery through strategy. That's the best I got right now. But that's more better, great grammar. That's better to me than just hot and cold seduction, because it wasn't hitting strong for me. Like when I'm using the cards and I'm reading, it just wasn't hitting strong for me. But let me finish reading the Coquette. They bait with the promise of reward, the hope of physical pleasure, happiness, fame by association, power, all of which, however, proves elusive. Yet this only makes their targets pursue them more. Imitate the alternating heat and coolness of the Coquette, and you will keep the seduced at your heels. Woo! We got to read more about this book when we're doing these cards, dog. But yeah, that's where the coquette came from. And love this card, Venus and Scorpio. It's perfect for this card. And that's that card. All right, the last one, the man eater. Okay, thank you to Tora on Facebook for giving me this idea. And this is how this card looks like, y'all. Pretty plain and simple. However, it is a Venus RX and Scorpio. So this is the card that I'm working on the message. It doesn't have a message yet. When I go to Facebook, which I will, because I use Facebook as a resource with all of these beautiful conversations that we've had. And it helps me to just come up with the frequency and the vibration to the cards. Okay, so let me find the one with man eater so we could use that energy right now so that we're really done. Like when I go off live, I'm done with the second edition. I'm looking for the man eater conversation. Does anybody remember that conversation? Here we go. What's the first image that comes to your mind when you hear the word man eater? Let's see what the people had to say. Oh yeah, they dropped like these songs by she's a man eater, right? Aaron Taro Moses said, borderline personality disorder. Well, with that answer, the energy that I put into this card already is it's a Venus RX. So Venus RX or Venus Direct are going to be two versions of the cards, right? So the Venus RX are always asking you to go back, to look again, to reanalyze the cards. So yeah, relook at it, go a little bit deeper. And so we're going deeper. Okay, Brandy Max's penis. Okay, if that ain't literal. Yeah. Lilith, Rihanna, or mermaid, a seductive siren. When my friend said, I am a man eater. So yeah, guys, so that's the most that I got on the man eater. I'm not in love with this card yet, but I kind of still like it because of the visuals, but it needs a message. So let me know what you think the message should be, okay? Thank you guys so much for joining me with this hour live. This was a lot of fun. I'll see you guys soon with some more topics on astrology. I'm done with the Venus RX sessions, but if you want to go check them out, the last few live versions have been me doing the cards like